You wake up. 3:47 a.m. The alarm hasn't even gone off yet, but your body already knows. You've programmed this so deeply that even your nightmares respect the schedule. You get up, not because you want to, but because staying in bed would feel like treason. Treason against what? You don't even know anymore. You just know the person in the mirror needs to see that you're serious, that you aren't like the others, that you have discipline. Then, the ritual begins. Ice-cold water on the face. Exactly 17 minutes of meditation. 50 push-ups. Black coffee, no sugar. Because pleasure is weakness, right? You log everything in the app. Another day of the streak. Another achievement to prove. What exactly? That you can force yourself to suffer voluntarily? Congratulations. You've become an artist of self-flagellation and called it freedom. Let me show you how this works in practice. You're at a family dinner. Your mother made that cake you loved as a child. She cuts a slice for you, smiling. And you? You calculate it mentally. Carbs, sugar, the impact on tomorrow's workout. No, thanks. I'm focused. She smiles, but there's something in her eyes. Disappointment? Worry? You don't know because you're too busy feeling proud of your refusal. You just chose a tracking app over a real human connection, and you called it discipline. Or at work, you get an invite for happy hour, a rare chance for genuine connection with people you respect. But it's Friday at 6 p.m. and you have a workout scheduled for 7 DAO. You decline. I have a commitment. They stop inviting you after a few months, and you feel superior while doing your bench press, alone, strong, disciplined, isolated. Here is the truth that will blow your mind. You aren't free. You never were. You just traded one prison for another. The difference? Now you are the warden. And that makes you feel powerful until you realize the prisoner is also you. You are stuck in a civil war with yourself, and you called it self-discipline. You've been bleeding internally for years, and you painted the blood gold saying, "This is growth." But do you know what's truly maddening? You are already free. The door has always been open. You were just too busy building prettier bars to notice they were never necessary. Let me tell you about a concept Machiavelli understood that no productivity guru will ever teach you. The prince does not govern himself. He governs circumstances. Do you understand the difference? No? Then pay attention, because here begins the amputation of what you thought was true. Self-discipline is the virtue of the powerless. It's what you develop when you can't control your environment, so you obsessively control the only thing left, yourself. It's like someone trapped in a tiny cell doing military drills. Admirable? Maybe. Powerful? Not at all. Because in the end, they are still trapped. Let's be surgical here. Think of every failed CEO you know. Do they wake up early? For sure. Do they have an impeccable routine? Absolutely. They meditate, do yoga, take cold showers, and read for 30 minutes before bed. And the company, it's failing. Because they are so obsessed with controlling themselves that they forgot to control what matters. The board, the moves, the real game. They show up to investor meetings exhausted, but proud of being exhausted. I woke up at 4 today. As if that impresses anyone. Investors don't care what time you woke up. They want to know if you're going to multiply their money. But you're busy proving discipline when you should be demonstrating inevitability. Waking up at 5 in the morning doesn't make you strong. It makes you obedient. Obedient to a voice you internalized so long ago that you forgot it isn't yours. It's the voice of the parent who told you laziness is a sin. Of the mother who measured your value in achievements. Of the high school coach who yelled no pain, no gain, until you believed suffering was the price of existence. And now you replicate that violence against yourself every single day and call it discipline. Do you know what's brutal? Nietzsche talked about this when he wrote about the last man, the one who says we invented happiness. That person isn't happy. They just learned to call their domestication contentment. And you? You learned to call your voluntary slavery self-discipline. You domesticated your desires until they begged for permission to exist. And then, with all the solemnity of a judge, you deny them, every day, at 5 in the morning. Here is the first level of truth, and it's going to hurt. You don't have discipline. You have fear. Fear of discovering who you are without the chains. Fear that if you stop forcing yourself, you'll fall apart. Fear that underneath all this performance of strength there is nothing. And do you know the perverse miracle of it? You're probably right. Take away the routine, and what's left? Someone who never learned to exist without orders, without rules, without someone, even if it's yourself, telling you what to do. You built an entire personality on top of obedience and called it sovereignty. But here is where the anger turns into something more dangerous: relief. Because if all of this is a lie, then you can stop, you can rest, you can finally admit that you're exhausted, that pretending to be strong is killing you faster than any weakness ever could. Let's talk about your relationship. Your partner asks, "Do you want to watch the sunset with me?" It's Friday. You have a rare window, but you've already planned. Workout at 7, meal at 8:15, reading at 9. "I can't, babe. I have my routine." They don't argue anymore. They stopped months ago. And you wonder why they seem distant lately, why you don't talk anymore, why sex became just another scheduled task instead of a spontaneous connection. You chose the calendar over consciousness, the schedule over presence, and you are losing what matters while gaining what doesn't. The second level. Every routine you built is a confession that you don't trust yourself, that you need external rules because your internal choices are dangerous. Dangerous to whom? To the version of you programmed to think that living without suffering is immoral. Your journal isn't self-knowledge, it's surveillance. You monitoring every thought, judging every impulse, punishing every detour. It's the Stasi of your own mind. You document everything, not to understand but to control, to have evidence, to be able to say, "I tried," when everything collapses. Your meals planned 3 weeks in advance? That's not efficiency. It's the pathological fear that if you have to choose what to eat in the moment, you'll choose wrong. You'll eat too much. You'll enjoy it too much. You'll allow yourself to feel pleasure. And pleasure, in this sick operating system you installed, is the first step toward total degeneration. Your 5:00 a.m. workout isn't health, it's penance. You are paying for a crime you never committed. The crime of being human, of having desires, of wanting to rest. Every burpee is a whispered confession. I am not trustworthy. I need to be punished. I need to suffer to deserve to exist. And the worst part? You know it. In the middle of the night when you can't sleep, when the fatigue is so deep that even your bones beg for mercy, you know. But in the morning you get up again, because admitting that all of this is a sham would be admitting you wasted years. And that truth is more terrifying than continuing the lie. Let's be specific about how this bleeds into your professional life. You're in an important negotiation. The potential client suggests continuing the conversation over lunch. I know a great place nearby. But you already brought your Tupperware. Chicken, broccoli, brown rice, measured, weighed, approved. You politely decline. I brought my lunch. I stick to my diet. The client smiles, but the deal goes cold. Because you just communicated something subliminally. You are inflexible, rigid, incapable of adapting. If you can't be flexible with a meal, how will you be flexible with deadlines, with changes in scope, with the chaotic realities of a real project? You lost the deal, but you kept your diet. And that night, you checked it off in the app. Another perfect day. Emile Cioran said, "It is not the fear of death that haunts us, but the fear of never having lived." Are you living? Or just running a program someone installed in you before you were old enough to question it? Third level, and here we begin to operate. What you call discipline, the prince calls structural weakness. Because if you have to force yourself, it's because you built it poorly. Let me explain this in a way that will make you rethink every second of your life. A well-designed building doesn't need effort to stay upright. Gravity works in its favor. Forces are distributed naturally. It simply exists. Now imagine a building with cracked foundations, crooked pillars, and walls that need constant reinforcement. Technically, it's still standing, but only because someone is pumping constant energy into it to prevent collapse. You are that building. Your discipline isn't structural strength, it's compensatory effort. You are using willpower where you should have physics. You are fighting gravity when you should be working with it. And every day you win that battle, you prove only one thing, that you are still fighting. And kingdoms divided against themselves do not last. Think of the person you know who seems to have no discipline at all, but everything works for them. They wake up when they wake up. They eat what they want. They work when they are inspired. But somehow, mysteriously, they are thriving. More money, better relationships, happier. How? Architecture. They built a life where their natural desires and their goals align. They don't need to force themselves to work because they love the work. They don't need to force themselves to wake up early because they go to sleep when they are tired and wake up when they are rested. They don't need to count calories because they eat when they are hungry and stop when they are full. You look at them and think, no discipline. They look at you and think, you still don't get it. The prince does not fight himself. He positions himself in such a way that his desires and his actions align naturally. He doesn't need to force himself to wake up early because he built a life where waking up early is the natural consequence of excitement, not obligation. He doesn't need to force himself to work because his work isn't martyrdom. It's expression. It's inevitability. See the difference? You are using heroic effort to compensate for bad architecture and calling it discipline when you should call it by its real name, structural failure. Robert Greene wrote in The 48 Laws of Power, "Be frugal with brilliance. Better to save your talent for the right moment. You are spending all your energy controlling yourself. And when the time comes to actually exercise power in the world, you have nothing left. You burned it all in the battle against yourself." Let's apply this concretely. You have a business opportunity. It requires creative energy, calculated risk, total presence. But you arrive at the meeting already exhausted. Exhausted from the 5 a.m. workout. Exhausted from fighting hunger on your restrictive diet. Exhausted from forcing yourself to meditate when your body was screaming for more sleep. You have nothing to give. Your tank is empty. You spent it all on self-control. And the deal? It goes to the rested person. The one who slept 8 hours, who ate a hearty breakfast, who showed up with energy to burn because they didn't spend it all in an internal civil war. You lost. But hey, you woke up at 5. Streak maintained. 4th level. The prince is lazy. Let that blow your mind for a second. The most powerful person in the room is the one who does the least, because they don't need to do. They position themselves with such precision that everything moves toward them naturally. Like gravity. Gravity doesn't strain. Gravity doesn't wake up early to prove it still works. Gravity simply is, and everything else adjusts. The prince understands this. He builds systems where his rest is more powerful than his effort, where his absence creates more value than his presence, where he can disappear for weeks and return more powerful because he built structures that work without him. Let me give you a brutal example. Steve Jobs. Everyone talks about his intensity, but no one talks about this. He spent hours walking. No agenda. Just walking, thinking, existing. He took entire weeks off just to think. While everyone else was grinding, he was strolling. Lazy? By your standards, absolutely. But he built Apple. Because he wasn't spending energy on performative self-discipline. He was positioning, architecting, creating inevitability. And you? You are waking up at 5 in the morning to prove you are relevant. Like a slave showing their gold chains to the master, proud of the metal. They are still chains. Think about your bank account. How much do you have? Now think about how much time you spend disciplining yourself. 5 hours a day? Between workouts, meal prep, journaling, meditation, morning routines? 5 hours. 35 hours a week. 140 hours a month. If you spent those 140 hours building systems of income, influence, real power, where would you be in 6 months? In a year? But no. You are spending it on performance, on proving you can suffer beautifully, the truth that will free you and enrage you simultaneously. You can stop. Now. Today. You don't need to earn your way out with more discipline. You don't need to complete one more routine to deserve rest. You simply stop. not out of weakness but out of sovereignty, because you finally understood the game was rigged from the start. Fifth level, and here it gets conspiratorial. Do you know why gurus sell discipline? Because discipline is repeatable, measurable, and marketable. Wake up at 5 a.m., take a cold shower, do a fasted workout. These are simple commands, and simple commands create obedient customers. Customers who buy the next course, the next book, the next 75-day challenge. Discipline is the perfect product, because it never fully works. You always need more intensity, more rigor, more sacrifice. It's the perfect business model. Sell the cure that ensures the disease persists. But no one sells positioning, because positioning is unique to every person. There is no formula, no 5 steps. Just the brutal truth that you need to look at your life and rebuild it from scratch based on who you actually are, not who you think you should be. And that doesn't sell. That's terrifying, because it means you can't outsource your transformation. You can't buy a course that tells you exactly what to do. You have to, God forbid, think, experiment, fail, discover. So they sell you discipline. They sell you the illusion of control, and you buy it because it's easier to follow orders than to build a kingdom, even if the orders are slowly destroying you. Balthazar Gracian, in the 17th century, already knew. Truth is generally seen, rarely heard. They are showing you the prison and calling it freedom, and you are seeing it but choosing not to see. Because seeing would mean acting, and acting would mean admitting you wasted time. A lot of time. How many courses have you bought? How many productivity books are on your shelf, highlighted, underlined, but not applied? Because real application would mean stopping the buying of courses and starting the building. And building is scary, because you might actually fail. Not fail at keeping a streak, but fail at creating something that matters. So you go back to discipline, safer, more controlled, more measurable, and totally useless for real power. Sixth level. Real sovereignty looks like chaos from the outside. Does the prince sleep in late? He seems lazy. Doesn't follow a rigid routine? He seems undisciplined. Eats what he wants when he wants? He seems out of control. But from the inside, it is pure gravity. It is inevitability. It is power so deep it doesn't need a performance. While you are waking up at 5 to prove something, he is sleeping, because he already won. While you are forcing yourself through a workout, he is doing something he loves, because he built a life where pleasure and power are not opposites. While you are tracking macros, he is eating, because he trusts his own body more than he trusts apps. And when you see him, you judge him. No discipline, you think, with superiority, without realizing he sees you too. And he thinks, still trapped. Poor soul. Let me give you another concrete example. You know that person who cancels plans at the last minute? Everyone complains about them. Not reliable. But they are a millionaire. Incredible relationships. Always seems rested. Always present. How? They understood something fundamental. Premature commitments are for people without power. They don't say yes out of politeness and then drag themselves to fulfill it. They say maybe, they evaluate, and they show up only when they really want to, or when it's strategic. And when they show up, they are totally present, because they aren't exhausted from forcing presence in places they didn't want to be. You say yes to everything, because saying no feels undisciplined. It feels like you can't handle it. So you go to every commitment, every dinner, every event, dying inside, performing interest, and coming home empty, forcing yourself to journal about meaningful connections that weren't meaningful. The cognitive dissonance here should tear you in half. What if everything you thought was strength was actually weakness? What if everything you judged as laziness was actually power? What if you spent years building the tools of your own destruction and called it personal development? Seventh level. Here is the protocol, and it will either make you collapse or set you free. There is no middle ground. For 30 days, you stop. Completely. Every routine based on proof. Every behavior that exists to demonstrate to someone, even if it's yourself, that you are disciplined. Every effort that is effort for its own sake, without connection to pleasure, purpose, or real positioning. Wake up when you wake up, naturally, without an alarm. Your body knows when it needs to rise. Trust it for the first time in years. Eat when and what your body asks for. No tracking, no guilt. If you want pizza at 3 in the afternoon, eat pizza. If you only want a salad for dinner, eat only salad. Listen, don't control. Work when inspiration demands it, not when the clock orders it. If you feel the fire at 10 at night, work. If you wake up and the fire isn't there, don't work. Rest, read, walk, exist. Train only if your body asks for movement, not because the calendar commands it. And when you train, do what feels good, not what the program says. Rest without guilt. When you are tired, stop. Not one more set. Not just one more hour. Stop. Honor exhaustion as the teacher it is. Live without needing evidence that you are living correctly. No photos for Instagram showing your 5 o'clock workout. No posts about discipline. Just live. No audience, no judge, no scoreboard. And observe. Observe the terror rising. Because without the performance, who are you? Observe the relief rising. Because finally, for the first time in years, you can breathe. Observe what happens when you stop fighting yourself and start existing with yourself. Some will collapse, and that is important to discover, because it means your discipline was the only thing between you and the void. It means you need to rebuild from scratch, not just adjust the routine. It means the real work hasn't even begun. But others, maybe you, will discover something disturbing. You are still here, still powerful, perhaps more powerful, because now your energy isn't being burned in a civil war. It is being directed outward, to build, to position, to create inevitability. You will discover that you work better when rested, that your ideas flow when you stop forcing them, that your relationships improve when you are present instead of disciplined, that your body actually knows what to do if you stop micromanaging every calorie. You will discover the prince was right all along. Gravity is more powerful than effort. Inevitability is stronger than willpower. Architecture beats discipline. Always. And when you come out of these 30 days, something will have changed irreversibly. You will find someone talking about their workout streak, their macros, their wake-up time, and you will feel two things at once. Deep compassion for the prisoner you used to be, and a cold anger at the waste of power. They are polishing chains. You are building kingdoms. You will be at a dinner. Someone will order dessert. Another will say, "I can't, I'm cutting." And you will eat the dessert. Not out of rebellion, but out of sovereignty. Because you know a dessert doesn't destroy kingdoms. But living in fear of dessert, that destroys people. You will wake up on a Saturday at 10 in the morning. Your phone will have messages from the workout group. "Where are you?" And you won't answer. Because you are having the best morning in years, making love to your partner, laughing, connecting, living. And deep down, without even needing to think about it, you know, this is more powerful than any workout. You will be working on a project. You will feel the fatigue. And instead of pushing through with discipline, you will stop. You will walk. You will think. And the solution will appear. Not because you forced it, but because you created the space for it to emerge. This isn't a choice you make once. It's a choice you make every day. Every moment you feel the urge to discipline yourself, you stop and ask, is this architecture or performance? Is this building gravity or just proving I can suffer? And if it's performance, you cut it, without mercy, without nostalgia. Because now you know, every minute spent proving your discipline is a minute someone else is using to build systems that make your effort obsolete. The prince doesn't discipline himself. He positions himself where discipline becomes irrelevant, where power is inevitable, where rest is strategy and pleasure is positioning, where he can disappear for weeks and return more powerful because he built structures that work without him. You have two choices at this exact moment. Continue the performance, continue the civil war, continue proving to an invisible court that you are good enough. Or stop. Simply stop. And discover who you are when you are no longer busy becoming someone. And here is the final paradox, the one that will seal everything. The person who stops trying to be disciplined discovers real discipline. The person who stops proving their power discovers real power. The person who stops forcing themselves to be free finally is, not because they did something, but because they stopped doing the wrong thing. The door was always open. You were just too busy building more complex locks to notice. And now that you've noticed, the question isn't, can I leave? The question is, will you? Because there are people here who will read this and tomorrow will wake up at 5 in the morning again. They'll do the push-ups, they'll log it in the app. They'll go back to prison because prison is comfortable, known, and safe, and they'll call it discipline. And there are people who will read this and tomorrow will sleep until their body wakes up naturally. They'll eat what they want. They'll work when excitement demands it. They'll discover for the first time in years what it's like to be alive and not just in compliance. And they'll call it what it really is. Sovereignty. You don't need my permission. You never did. You just needed to see that the court judging your value exists only in your mind. And minds change. Immediately. If you let them. The clock is ticking. Every morning you spend at 5 proving your worth is a morning someone else is sleeping, resting, accumulating real power while you burn yours in a performance. Choose fast. Because this isn't for everyone. And if you are the type who needs discipline to keep yourself together, then none of this applies to you. Go back to your routine. It protects you from what you would discover without it. But if you are the type who always knew, even in the unconscious depths, that something was wrong, that all this discipline was theater, that you were pretending to be strong because you were afraid to find out you already were, then you know what to do. Or rather, you know what to stop doing. The revolution isn't in doing more. It's in doing less. In stopping the fight against yourself and starting to position yourself with yourself. In ceasing to be the warden and the prisoner simultaneously and simply being. The prince waits. And while he waits, he builds gravity. And gravity cannot be resisted. It can only be accepted. You choose. Resist yourself forever, or accept yourself and watch the world adjust. The door is open. It always was. Now walk. And move forward, for tomorrow is merely the result of what you become today.